Welcome back to the Evolve podcast. I'm Rhiannon.
And I'm your better host, Brendan.
All right, we'll leave it at that. But for now, pretty much what this podcast is all about is self-development, health and fitness, and our journey starting as brand new business owners.
Let's go. Make sure that you share this around because I'm telling you right now, this is the best podcast you've ever seen.
Enjoy, guys. Ciao. Welcome back to the Evolve podcast with Brendan and Rhiannon today. We've stepped it up a notch. We got TJ here from Transform 40. Well, TJ, welcome.
Thanks for having me, boys.
No worries.
He's 2x our time in the industry.
He has combined as well.
No, combined he's still done more than us. Pretty sure, right?
Yeah. All right. He can hold us. TJ, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we'll take it from there.
Yeah, thanks, boys. I've run a gym brand called Transform 40 for about 7 years now. So we're at 3 facilities. I currently still own and operate the Carlton one, and I have like family and friends running the other ones. And father of 2, ex-footy background, bit online coaching. It's kind of my story.
Wow.
There's a few things there.
Few like a big run sheet, obviously. Tell me a little bit
this can
about...
go in many different avenues.
Yeah, I know. Tell us what inspired Transform 40 to happen.
Yeah, good question. So I was PTing back in the day. So back of footy career, then went into personal training, found that I had a fair knack for it to understand how to get people to actually take action and do the things that actually required to get a physical result by changing their mindset first, their understanding of their overall health. So got into that, really enjoyed it. I was PTing for like 4 or 5 years, always trying things on the side, like starting up protein brands and buying chain gyms and stuff like that. Bit of online coaching. And then, I was hit one point one day where I had a guy working for me at the big gym we were paying rent at. And I just went to him and went, hey, why don't we start a gym? Like I just had this like kind of moment where I just went, you know what, I'm 27 at the time, maybe 28, thinking I can't just PT in a gym forever. So what's the next step? And then I realized, we could take that PT model, bring in group training, have a bit of a hybrid offer, and focus it all around community. And the idea of people came there for results, not just, I guess, to sweat. Like the idea is they come for results and they'd stay for the culture and the community.
Yeah. Because
we won't touch on those gyms that don't really care about results. We won't jump in
push them to the side. But obviously, Transform 40 started as an inspiration for yourself. Was there a journey of yours in relation to like a weight loss journey or anything that happened along the time where you went, okay, I want to impact people the way I got impacted through sort of training or fitness and stuff like that?
That's a really good question, actually. I would say the best place I could put it towards would be, I'll go like deep straight away, but losing my mother at 17 years old. So that was through addiction and alcohol and things like that. And just seeing, I guess, her physical state and mental state kind of erode over time. And I guess for me, being a 17-year-old kid, being practically homeless at that point.
Resilience would have been like...
Yeah, it had to grow. What saved me was sport and fitness. So I think that's...
It was like a sink or swim moment in a way.
Pretty much. And I think without sport and fitness, a lot of kids in that situation fall down a really dark path because they don't really have anything else to apply themselves to. Where footy gave me that structure and that, I guess, some mentors and things like that I could lean on. And I hung around like the physios and sports coaches and the strength coaches and stuff like that to learn from and grow. And I guess on the back of my career, that was probably where it came from, where I went, you know what, that helped me so much. It kind of saved my life to a degree. It can help other people to that degree.
It's crazy how powerful it can be, eh? Just like some sort of physical journey just completely changes you.
Yeah, I think it's so important for especially young kids this day and age where there's so much distraction and so many vices they can fall into, like porn, drugs, alcohol, whatever it might be. Social media. Like you can just spend your entire day inside playing games. So if you can get them into some form of sport and some kind of fitness endeavor, that can give them a positive outlet where it's not just an old digital world where it's just dopamine draining.
100%. Did you start your footy career at 17?
No, so I was playing footy my whole life. So I played rugby from like 5 years old, played rugby and rugby league from about 11. And then when I hit about 15, 16, just growing up in the Shire, rugby league was just the dominant sport. So I went, I'm going to transition across, play Matthews Cup. That's what everyone always talked about. So played
Is that sort of like Harold Matts?
Yeah. So Harold Matts, SG Ball, then 20s. I was like the first year of NYC, like the national 20s comp back in the day.
Wow.
So like 19 years old or 18 and a half, flying to Queensland for games in New Zealand. Yeah, it was awesome. Like it was such a different experience. So did that for a couple of years, played reserve grade, played one game of first grade. It was the last game for Trent Barrow. It's like one of my favourite players growing up.
No way.
So played the last round of the year and then full time the next year. And I guess we'll kind of go into that kind of mindset side of things. But I'd kind of hit my goal.
Yep.
Played first grade. I was in the full-time squad. I felt like I'd kind of made it, and I was just too young and immature, I guess, with like a lack of guidance to be like, all right, this is now a career. I was kind of like, just put my feet up and just got, I guess, disenfranchised with it, got bored of it, wasn't performing as well as I wanted to. And then
And this was at 20?
about 22, 23.
22,
yeah.
okay.
That's when I gave it away and just traveled Europe for a year and came back and fell into PT.
Wow. So that disconnection from where you were here to go over to Europe, learn about yourself, come back, that sort of spark a new sort of interest in you to move forward with whatever you were going through?
Yeah, I think it allowed me to grow up a bit for sure, but I still wasn't grown up. Like I look back now and I say this to people all the time, like you guys are a bit younger than I am.
Yeah.
I'm 35, turned 36.
Yeah.
But I find out every year just how little I knew a year ago. You know what I mean, that'll keep happening, and that's that kind of growth mentality. So I look back now and I think, yeah, I was very, very immature about how I went about everything in life. And if I had like the same mind to do now, maybe I could have had more of a career or whatever it might be. So yeah, you learn over time how little you knew, and if like young people could just understand that there's so much to learn, so much growth to come, it actually gives you a peace of mind. It gives you a comfort knowing that I'm not meant to know it all right now, and I've got way more to learn. So whatever you're struggling with probably won't be a struggle in 5 years' time if you take the right steps to learn those things.
100%. It was probably the learning that you needed at that time, though, because when you came back, you full shift your focus. But I guess for people to understand, you hit your pinnacle. You debuted for the Sharks. That was like an amazing thing. If I played for the Sharks, I would continue, man. So what made you like decide, hey, you know what, this isn't for me anymore. Let me actually switch my focus and get into PT.
It was that immaturity. It really was. Like I did my knee. It wasn't bad. I did my PCL. So you're out for like 8 to 10 weeks, like the posterior ligament in your knee.
Yeah.
So yeah, tore that. And I was just like doing physio, rehab, freezing cold winter. And all my mates were in Europe. It was the first year they went on Europe trip. So I was just immature. I was like, I just want to go enjoy my life and party. Because I hadn't set that new milestone, that new goal of say like 50 first grade games. It was like play first grade, done that. And I was like, now what? So I literally just got over it and gave up. I had offers to go and do a trial down in Melbourne, potentially be full-time there. I had an offer to go play in France.
Wow.
But I said no to all that and just wanted to just be free. Because
you hit your goal. And
I feel so restricted. Like it's actually a much harder career than people give it credit for. Like footy players, they get 1 month off a year around like September, October. Yeah. And then you're straight back into preseason. You're getting flogged all off season, all preseason. And then think about during the season, they give up every single weekend. Like you're playing on a Sunday, you're traveling to Canberra without your family. You're spending 2-3 days down there. You play your game, you come back. So like, I'm not taking away from the fact they get paid really well, and it's a great career to have, but it is very restrictive. And as a young guy, I was like, I just want to have freedom. Yeah, that's the biggest reason why I gave it up.
Europe trip.
Yeah, hence a Europe trip.
So when did you start your course? So at what period in time was it when you got back from Europe? Yeah,
so I came back from Europe, and I was actually doing like a little bit of just like labouring work, just making cash. And my now wife, my girlfriend at the time, she's like, was kind of talking about what I wanted to do next. And she said, you've always had like a good mind for sport. You've always been obsessed with training and health and fitness and stuff. She's like, why don't you be a PT? And I got the thought going. Back then it was pretty easy to get a degree. It was like 3 months online. Like, it's like
there we go.
Get him out of like a cereal box back then. It's so long ago. So yeah, I did it all online, did it like 2 days a week, just banged out like 6 hours of study.
Yeah, well.
Got that pretty quickly because most of it in the course is like stuff that I'd already known through footy or you learn on the job type thing. Like the degrees
It is something
great.
you learn on the job.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah. Like you have to get the first-hand experience. So just got it done really quick. And then I just went to an Anytime Fitness and just applied for a job, and the rest was history.
There we go.
Wow.
Interesting story. I think a lot of people...
the missus started the journey.
Yeah, the missus started the journey.
Kicked it off.
It's good that you had that person to sort of kickstart that new you in you. That was similar to me as well. Like my mum, questioned those exact same questions. As soon as you said it, I was like, shit, I've heard that. I've heard those questions before. That's exactly what kickstarted my endeavor. Obviously, you got to a point where you were like, okay, this isn't me. I want to do something more than what I'm capable of. Business came into mind. And obviously, you said that you connected with your friend. What sort of feelings were you having prior to making that decision to go full throttle on it?
To start Transform 40.
Yeah.
Yeah, so PTing in the gym was great. And I was making like really good money for a young kid. Like I was early 20s. I was traveling every second month at least. Like I was always doing something fun. But then I realized, okay, I don't want to be on the floor PTing, like trying to, I guess, fill hours and do like manual work for the next 30, 40 years. What's the next step? And the natural transition was I was always pretty good at leadership from my footy days, always captain of my team, stuff like that. I had a guy working for me at Anytime Fitness at the time. And I just went, you know what? There's a gap in the market. This is way back in the day when there was literally just like F45 and Vision. There was nothing else that existed that did anything close to what we did at Transform 40. So I looked at it and went, okay, well, Vision do a decent job of PT and small group training for, I guess, like mum, dad type clients. F45 was great for like just get in, have fun, train, sweat, that kind of thing. But there was nothing that was looking after, I guess, the youth in the way of PT, accountability, group training, community, fun events, challenges, stuff like that. So yeah, I just thought about that and went, okay, well, there's clearly an opportunity there. Let's give it a go. So it was actually a funny story how we got started. We found all this secondhand equipment online from a gym shutting down in Leichhardt. So we reached out to them. It was like pretty good cost for what we're getting. And it was like we had to tear up every piece of equipment had to go. Every bit of rubber had to come off the floor. The whole we had to clear out the whole gym to get like, it was like 80% off the equipment. The thing was we didn't actually have a lease sorted at the time. So
you had all this equipment and
we're in negotiations and we had 2 days. If we didn't get it out by this certain date, then we had to start paying this guy's rent in Leichhardt. And it was like $3 or $4 grand a week. And I had no money. Like I was flat broke when I started up. I spent all money on holidays. So then I just went, okay, like I had trust in like the outcome was going to happen. I knew this place I wanted, but I hadn't gotten a green light yet. So we took all the equipment a day before it had to be out and we dropped it in front of this unit that I didn't have it installed on this yet. Just put all this crap there and just hope no one asked any questions. And then that next day we're getting the rest of it out the day before the rent kicked in. And that's when the real estate rang me. I had like 2 hours to get back to the Shire from Leichhardt to sign this, sign the lease agreement. So then we could then get the keys and move all the stuff inside, or we'd had all our stuff just littered out the front of this, in the front of this block. So raced back, signed the lease, went back that night. It was like a Friday night, and then me and a few friends and that just started moving everything in on trolleys and just dumped it all in there. Okay, now we've dumped it in there. Now we've got to work out how to build a gym.
Wow.
What a journey, man.
Well, I think the big thing there is like too many people with business, they try and wait until they have the perfect product and then they go to market with it. When you don't know if it's a perfect product until you try and just start moving something. So the key is like just have an idea, see people will pay for it. If there's a demand for it, build it out while you're going. So we just spend the next month PTing still in the old gym, but we're building this gym, painting the walls, hanging the equipment, all that kind of stuff. Telling people about the business, then started signing people up. Then about a month later, we opened up to like 50 to 70 odd members. And just worked it out on the fly, like with 3 young kids, just with no clue what we're doing.
That's crazy.
Like me and the 2 coaches that we started off with. And just, I guess over the years, everything just kept on evolving and evolving. But what you see now is like 1,000 times different to what it started out as. Like it started out as just like one crappy logo we made on like Fiverr or like one of those accounts. And,
you should have seen our first logo. It was horrendous.
Always is. But
Well, he made it himself.
It usually is some kind of like Word doc or something.
But
you have to start somewhere. And I think too many people tell themselves they're perfectionists when they're actually procrastinating, when it's just about like you got to pull the trigger, just get it moving and then just figure it out and they go. Because you might spend 2 years perfecting this perfect product in your mind and no one wants it. So you might as well get it out there
And
first.
imagine you do it and you're like, oh shit, it's not.
It happens all the time, man. It's like, because your friends will say, that sounds great. Yeah, I'd buy that. And like, cool. And then it comes to buying it and no one wants to buy it. So I think it's really important to put out like a minimum viable product to whatever it is. Just get what you think works as quick as possible. And then you can iterate along the way.
They say that business owners tend to action first before they think. What's your thoughts on that?
Sounds weird. It's kind of like physically impossible, right? You got to think something. So I think they think and take action, but I think what they're trying to say there is they likely think and take action really quickly. They don't ruminate on the problem very often.
Yes.
You know what I mean? I think they trust their gut. They have a thought and they go, yep, that's where I'm going to go. And they test it. And the beauty of small business is you can test things rapidly compared to like you're on a huge board, like a public company. You have one idea or one change. One marketing campaign change could take you 2 years to actually facilitate. So, small businesses, I think you think and act really fast, which is fun because you get to try stuff and it doesn't work, try something else, doesn't work, try something else.
In relation to your mindset there, like that was just a quick decision that you just trusted your gut. How did you know to trust your gut? Or was it just something that you had built, obviously, with the structure of having that background in footy?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more like success breeds success. So like the more that, and it comes back to habits. So like with footy, I wasn't the fastest, I wasn't the most talented, I wasn't the strongest, but I was one of the hardest workers you'd ever find. So I'd get up when I was 15 years old and run hills before school. Like I was always doing like sprints and the extra work. So I knew that in any kind of fitness drill, let's say like we're in off-season training, we're doing the beep test or like 4 and 5 tests. I had this thing in my mind where I'm either going to win this event, whatever this thing is, or I'm going to die trying, or I'm going to pass out. So I just pushed myself to the point where I knew I could outwork anyone, and that knowing of I could outwork anyone, then anything that showed up, I could sort it out. But if I knew that I was really skilled or really fast, but I didn't work that hard and I cut corners, then when real life problems came up, I'm not going to outrun them, aren't I? Am I?
Yes.
So you can always fall back on your discipline and your habits if you build that strength of knowing that you can do anything. You might just not have learned how to do it yet. And that was the approach I took with business. Was I don't know how to market, don't know how to sell, don't know really how to structure a team, don't know really under operations, have no idea about finances and tax, but I believe I have the capability of learning all these things if I have the time to put into it, compared to a lot of people's belief is I could never do that. I could never do that. It's like you got to believe, literally, if you want success in life and I guess want to not cave when things are hard, believe that you could fly a rocket to space if you spent the time learning it. Correct. If you just choose not to learn it, cool. But don't straight away write yourself off and say, I don't have the ability, I could never do that, because you probably could if you put the effort in.
That's very true. That's very true.
Well, you're always right until you're not, in that sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I think people just write themselves off way too quick. And if they had a bit more belief, problem is most people haven't tried enough hard things. Yeah. They've had hard lives for sure, but the more you choose hard, the more you do difficult tasks and overcome them, the more strength you build. But I think
100%.
Too many people's lives are very hard because they've never done anything hard. They've just had hard thrust upon them.
I like that one. Yeah. In terms of like, when you started your first gig as a PT at Anytime Fitness, when you first started that, you still have to kind of run a business because you're straight away having to pay rent. You're straight away having to go on the gym floor and do sales and all that kind of stuff. How do you manage that? Because a lot of PTs don't really last that long when they start that first.
Yeah. I think because I had the footy background and I guess I looked the part, like I looked after myself, so I was quite fit and strong. I didn't really struggle that hard to get clients, but I was also like a really avid learner. So straight away I was looking at, okay, how do like bodybuilders train people? And I understood like time under tension training. So I made that my niche. I'm like, cool. Ben Picolsi's time under tension. I watched a bunch of content on that, on how to like activate the muscles more. Cool. I'm going to target young guys and talk about when they're doing their bench press, they're not actually hitting their chest and teach them how to do the form properly. Yeah. So I worked out pretty quickly what made
your
people
market
tick.
And everything.
Yeah, that side of things. And then there wasn't too many elements besides that. Like when you first start out in a gym, you got to understand, okay, how to present yourself, like dress well, look fit. That's a big part of it. And then how to communicate well and how to present your offer and then train people well. Very different to when you're running like a team of 10 people and running a full gym. So
100%.
yeah, it was a good baby step. It was still daunting. Don't get me wrong. Like it's still like, I really want to talk to this person on lat pull down and tell them like what they're not doing right. Yeah. So just like understanding that was tricky, but yeah, I kind of fell into it pretty naturally.
Because it's still a business in itself.
Yeah.
Obviously a very small scale compared to what you're doing now, but was there a huge difference between, running your own business in the gym as a one-on-one PT to opening up your first gym?
Yeah, enormous. Way big difference. Yeah, because like your PT business in a gym, you might need 15 clients that you have a relationship with and you train them twice a week and you're making decent income. Where when you go to open a gym, it's no longer you then have to multiply yourself, replicate yourself. So whatever you had that was of good quality that made you a successful PT, you then have to train 5 other people with different relationships and different emotions, different self-confidence and bodies
to do the same
thing. So,
all right, guys, it's time under tension day. All right, let's go.
Yeah, that's it. It's really hard to kind of replicate yourself and have them, I guess, have the same confidence in themselves and to be able to like practice the same beliefs and the same structure. Yeah. And you kind of get to a point where you realize you have to accept that if they can do at least 80% what you could do and it buys back 100% of your time as a business owner, you've got to be okay with that. Yeah. Where if you're too, I guess, micromanaging and you're all over them, then you're just going to push
exactly
people
this
away.
Process. Exactly this thing.
You don't want to do that too often because, you push people away pretty quickly.
Yeah.
100%.
See the influx and outflux of people and how quick it all happens.
Yeah.
With regards to your knowledge, like you sound like you have a lot of knowledge in relation to positivity, motivation, mindset, coaching. Was there anyone influential in your life that sort of gave you that sort of spark in you?
Yeah, a guy I've never actually spoken to in person, Tony Robbins, was definitely like my first aha moment, my big like mentor, I suppose. A guy I've never really spoken to, probably had the most impact on my life.
Wow.
And that was through just finding one of his books back when I first quit footy. And I was just like about to travel Europe and I found he was Unleash the Power Within, one of his original books.
That's a good one.
Awesome. And then from there on, my now wife, girlfriend at the time, she was working for Big Picture and she could actually get tickets to all the seminars. So
Oh, no way.
yes, we
What's the
did.
big picture again?
It's like a big recording company.
Okay.
They do like all the screens and
Yeah,
recording.
Big
and,
shows and stuff.
Okay.
yeah, like all the concerts and that. So yeah, we went to UPW and that was a huge eye opener for me. That was massive. But then big one was Date with Destiny. It was like the 6-day event
Wow.
where like you pretty much just pull your whole life apart for like 14 hours a day. Like it's intense, like over and over again, but it's fully life changing where you just go through such a self-discovery process, which is phenomenal. So those two events were kind of anchored like 3 years apart, but within that, every spare second of my day was listening to mindset content, psychology, like Start With Why, Simon Sinek stuff, like just as much as I could get my hands on of what made people tick and what made me tick and how, like you said before, how to have a positive, I guess, perspective in like really bad scenarios of like seeing the future. So yeah, I spent probably 10 years just being obsessed with personal development. That's essentially where it came from.
And now you've created 3 good little businesses that are able to multiply that same motivation to each of them. With now having 3, do you find like the not copy and paste, but the duplication of each gym has sort of kept the same theme?
Yeah, big time for sure. Because the way it's structured is people come in and essentially from the start, the whole process is exactly the same. So they come in and we have like an assessment where we figure out, okay, how their body moves, get to know them a bit better and understand pretty much their why they're there. Then we dive into exactly where they are right now. And like the way that anyone's going to achieve change and why we get such good results is we really have them focused on the present and what they're not happy with in this moment. Okay. Like, because if you're not problem aware, you're never going to change anything.
Yeah.
Like if I'm extremely unhealthy, I'm 150 kilos, but I'm ignoring the problem, I'm not going to eat any better. I'm not going to do the hard thing and go to the gym.
Yep.
So we have them be very problem aware, help them with that process, and then create like a beautiful vision of what life's going to turn out like if they put the right things in place.
Like
they go through that
sunshine and
process.
rainbows.
Yeah, pretty much. Like what's it going to feel like in 12 weeks time when you're down 10 kilos and you're moving better and this and this and this and this. So they create this like beautiful outcome they want. And then through mindset content, that's how we kind of keep the same theme. So day 1, which is their Sunday before they start, they'll get drip fed content, which is just videos from me. All this kind of content where we're talking about, okay, it's day 1. I want you to focus on X, Y, and Z. This week, make sure you do these 5 things and we'll have success. Then week 2, we're going to focus on this. And week 3, and week 4, etc. So each gym has the same content going out to all the members at the same time as like all the coaches go through the same coaching process.
Yep.
So they all understand like,
Wow.
okay, what are our ethos? What are our morals? Like, what are we doing for these people? Like, what's our main objective? Like, be the best part of their day as an example. So
Yep.
you got 30 minutes. Your goal is not about you. Be the absolute best part of their day for that 30 minutes.
Yep.
And then again. So yeah, it's like, I'd say 9% of the time it flows through really, really well. And then you'll always like sometimes just have someone who doesn't fit the culture and you find that out pretty quickly.
That's amazing because one of the best businesses in the world, McDonald's, it's repeatable.
Yeah.
No matter where you go in the world, you're going to experience the same thing. There's always going to be a Big Mac. It's pretty much going to taste the exact same. And I used to think like, that is so robotic. That is so shit for business in my head when I was a younger kid. Now, as I've gotten older, I've realized a brand, that's a really strong brand because you know exactly what you're going to expect walking in there. How did you go about being able to do that for 3 different gyms? Because you've never done it before. So
Yeah, I think what helped with us was we grew from in-house. It was all internal. So like everyone who worked for me in like the first, say, 5 years was an ex-client. You know what I mean? So like they'd be a client,
wow.
they become a PT, they become a coach. So it was kind of grown through that. And then who
internally hide your clients.
Yeah, pretty much. So then like
okay.
one of my clients from 10 years ago is my business partner now. So then we opened up Carlton together. So once again, we brought those values across. And then my best mate came back from overseas, worked at Carlton for a bit, and then he opened Campsie. So it's very easy to flow on because it was all kind of grown from within. I think it'd be hard if you grew really rapidly, like you had a fire sale and you sold like 50 territories in a year or 2. It's going to be very hard to keep those same consistent values across the board.
Yes. Yeah. But because you did it over time, it was very easy for you to keep those same values across.
Like a slower growth allowed us to make sure that it was consistent.
Yeah.
And then obviously now you've got a family, a wife. What were those stages of life like? Just transitioning from now running to a business to wife to family.
Yeah.
How was that for you?
It was pretty challenging for sure. Like not the wife part, that's easy.
Yeah.
She's amazing. Like we've got a beautiful relationship and she's very supportive of everything I do.
Yeah.
The challenge was having our first son, was going from just being, I guess, someone who's very autonomous, was always really independent, could work as much as I wanted to, train whenever you want, that kind of stuff, to then having like a soul that's so dependent on you was a real tough shift for both of us.
Yeah, like a few hours sleep a night.
Yeah, we had a brutal, like, first son, Wild, he had a brutal, like, say, first 12 months where he had undiagnosed silent reflux, was sleeping like 3-4 hours a night.
No.
It was just brutal. Yeah, for at least 9 months of it.
Oh wow.
And like, yeah, there's actually a bit of content on my
Yeah,
Instagram
that's
telling
why
this
I brought
story.
it up.
Yeah. So essentially, like, it was one of the hardest points I reckon I've had probably my whole life. Like, losing my mum obviously was extremely tragic, but where I got to this point where I'd set up a life and I was like, everything was flowing well, and all of a sudden just no sleep, stress all the time. Tiff was going through a really hard time with postpartum, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And then, yeah, like, because I couldn't focus on the business, I had like 2 coaches leaving. They were moving up to Queensland.
Oh wow.
So the
everything
new
was
gym,
happening
yeah,
at
it felt like
once.
financially was falling apart. The business wasn't
This
working
big brick
properly.
wall happened.
Yeah, it's like
Wow.
life was just testing me massively.
Yeah.
And then so I let myself go a little bit. Wasn't training as much. Wasn't eating as well. Drinking more. Put on like probably 6 to 8 kilos of fat. Like, just did not feel myself.
Wow.
And then I remember this like breaking point where I came home, had like probably 2-3 hours not sleep, up since 4. I was like, get home by midday and I can have a quick nap before the afternoon. It's back when I was like training people heaps. Got home. As soon as like I laid down, my head hit the pillow, I heard like this barking, this crazy commotion. I run out, my dogs are in this massive fight out the front of the house. I run out, pull them apart. One of them gets my hand. You can see the scar there.
Oh wow.
Deep into my hand by accident. Like, he just nicked
Yeah.
me. So then I'm standing there like pouring out blood. I look at it, I can see the bone. I'm like, I have to go to the hospital. I'm like,
joking.
surely not. I'm like, surely I can just wrap this thing with a towel and go to sleep. But I was like, no, I have to, because I know how it's extremely dangerous to leave dog bites because they're so dirty.
Yeah.
So I go to the hospital. I'm just there, exhausted.
All you wanted to do was sleep.
Yeah. Like, at the end of my tether, I'm like, what's going on? I'm like, I need to fix this. Like, what am I doing wrong? And this is something that I teach to like all the men I coach online. I coach a lot of dads now online. And I teach them this number one principle is, I was like, okay, what can I control right now? I can't control the business necessarily to that degree. It's going to take time to see improvements there.
Yep.
Tiff's going through what she's going through. I can support her, but I can't really change that in this moment. What I can control is how much I've let myself go and how I'm putting myself in a harder spot to deal with this trouble. So I was like, okay, take my own advice from years ago. If I just eat really well, train my ass off, try to get as much sleep as I can, no more booze, do that for 8 weeks. Let's see what happens. And after 8 weeks, lo and behold, I lost the 8 kilos. I was feeling way better about myself. I had way more energy, way more to apply myself to things. Business got sorted, relationship got better, everything improved because I was in a better spot to deal with it. I say to people all the time, like, whatever you're going through in life, I don't want to cheapen the problem by saying like, this is the solution. It's not the solution, but if you get way fitter and have way better energy and feel way better about yourself, are you going to be better capable to deal with that problem or not? Of course you are.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Let's just get in way better shape, way better energy, look after your sleep, have a better routine, eat better food, and then let's see if you can focus on the problem better. I guarantee you can, but most people do the opposite, as you guys know.
Yeah.
I was doing the same thing. Because things were tough, I wasn't training as much. I wasn't sleeping as well because I couldn't really sleep. I was drinking more alcohol, I was eating crappier food. So then it was just like this non-stop cycle of feeling worse and worse and worse and worse. So my best lesson to people is like, if you're dealing with a hardship in life, you're going to war essentially in your mind, get fitter, get stronger for war. Because the better you look after yourself, the better you be able to handle that scenario.
Yeah, 100%. When a plane's going down, you always have to put your mask on first. And it makes sense. Fill your glass up first before you can fill up others, because then you're going to be better able to help other people around you. Yeah.
Couldn't agree more, man. I think that's what I see so much of with parents is they'll always say, oh, I'm looking after my kids. I'm putting them first. I'm putting them first. I'm putting them first. I'm like, but are you? Because you're looking after yourself in your own health, your fitness, your sleep, your mindset, your learning, whatever it is. You're not doing any of those things to look after yourself. How do you show up for your kids? Tired, snappy, grumpy, reactive? Yeah, you're there. You're feeding them food, but are they enjoying their experience? Like, are you being the best version of mum or dad that you want to be for your kids? And the answer is probably no. So if you do take an extra hour out of your day where you're not with them and you look after yourself by doing a workout, eating some better food or whatever it might be, and just giving yourself a break, you'll show up and be a way better parent in that time you have.
Yeah.
So I'm always about like quality time is way better than quantity time, whether it be
Yes.
with a partner, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, kids, whatever, even friends. It's like, I don't want to spend 24 hours a day with you. I want to have like 2 or 3 amazing hours, whatever that looks like. So you can look after yourself and the hours outside of that to make sure you can enjoy those hours.
Yeah.
100%.
Whatever that number is, obviously parents is different.
Everyone's going to be different, but quality over quantity.
Yeah, 100%. And you got to look after yourself to make sure the time is quality.
100%. I think the big thing that you took away from that was that everything just accumulated so quickly and you couldn't control it. But it took something like a cut to completely like put you in like a pause mode. Like, okay, let me reassess. Let me see what's going on. From that moment there, we're here now on a podcast. Did you ever think you'd be on a podcast again? Like it's all these little things that now you're pushing yourself back outside your comfort zone with everything. The training that you're doing, the content that you're putting out is awesome as well.
Thanks, man.
And in regards to the content side of things, you've taken a bit of a different approach. I remember in the beginning stages, you were just very focused on Transform 40, and then you've gone down your path now. You're putting a lot of education out there. Where was that shift? What happened there?
Yeah, good question. It was probably about 6 months ago where I kind of reevaluated my why.
Yep.
So my why at the start was like helping younger people transform their mind, their body will follow, that kind of thing, looking after the next generation in that way, which is kind of like 16 to 22 was like a target market. And that's because I spoke to that market really well because I was like 27, 28. I'd done that. I'd kind of gotten through the period they were about to get through. So that was my main focus.
Yep.
And then as Transform 40 evolved and kind of outgrew, obviously far bigger than me. So now it's like it's its own entity, essentially. Then I was like, okay, what's my why now? And I kind of landed on the why for me now is to help predominantly fathers, but some mums as well, but mostly dads, become a way better version of themselves. Help men become better men, better health, better mindset. I work a lot in that mindset side of things and their reactions and understanding masculine and feminine energies and how to control their emotions and not just snap and not have outbursts that they always feel guilty about and feel shame for on the back of it. Help those men be better versions of themselves so that they can be better fathers for the next generation. So that my big thing whenever I coach a dad online, I'm like, I want your son to be able to look at you and say, he's my hero. Like he looks the way I want to look. He acts the way, he's like energetic, he's fit, he's healthy, he loves mum, he treats her well. Like I want that for you. And I want that for my own kids. So I think my number one why, my driver is to help men be better versions of themselves for their kids. Yeah. Not even for them really, but it'll help them tenfold as well. So that was the shift, was like, okay, well, I need to speak to that market now because I'm that guy now. I'm that dad. Like I'm 35, I'm not like a 26-year-old. I don't really speak to 18-year-olds anymore. They don't really resonate with, I guess, my story as much as what a dad who's out of shape and reactive and not feeling good in himself, he might listen to me a bit closer and go, because he's in a similar situation to what I am, but he's giving himself the out. Maybe I can help him get back on track.
So in a way, in your PT career, you sort of went from coaching people that were you at one stage of your life. You coached that 16 to 22-year-old when you were 27 because you're like, I was there. I've been there. I know how to coach that.
More relatable.
Now you're a dad and you're coaching other dads to be better parents, to be better dads themselves. So you've just shifted to whatever market you kind of struggled with in your mind and you're like, oh, I've been here. I've gotten over that hurdle myself. Now I want to help coach that. Does that mean your brand Transform 40 is going to shift to that as well? Or is there...
It already naturally has kind of shifted. Yeah, okay. We actually attract a whole lot more of that kind of 30 to 50 range.
Oh, there we go.
When we first opened at Carrying Bar, we had like, 90% would have been between that 16 and 22-year-old range because back then there was, like I said, no other gyms really existed. So it was just us, F45 and Vision. And if they wanted results, they come to us because they're in that demographic. So then as like, I guess all these other little gyms have kind of multiply and you've got 1,000 carbon copies of each other, is that the younger demographic just kind of bounces from gym to gym. Yeah. But then you find that 30
crunch and
they'll go to like the next fad, like whatever the fun one is that looks best on Instagram is the next place people tend to end up, which is fine. Like you encourage people to try what they're going to enjoy. A lot of fitness is variety just to keep it interesting. Like you guys know, being in fitness career, you could do bench press, chin ups, deadlifts and squats. And you could just do those 4 exercises, 10 sets of a day, and you'd look pretty good.
Yes.
So like we seek variety just because it's fun.
Yep.
It's the same with training where they want to train. Where that demographic we're talking about, the 30 to 50s, they're more set in their ways. They build more on relationships and rapport and community and that kind of thing. So it just naturally transition to that anyway.
Okay. There we go.
For someone struggling to find their why, how would you coach them in sort of assessing what could be their new why or their new reason to do something for themselves?
Okay. Do you mean like as far as a business or for their own
in
personal
relation
life?
to their own mental health, business life? Yeah, like just in general. Like, for instance, myself, I struggled to find my reason why prior to obviously Dynamic Recov coming to fruition. And I think the one big thing that Brendan taught me along the way was obviously find your why and your reason to do what you do every day and continue doing what you love. I find like there's been people that I've spoken to that have struggled to find that reason why. And I feel like asking that question to people like yourself gives different perspective on that question. So yeah, that's sort of what I mean. So like how would you coach someone if they came up to you and said, I don't have a purpose or I don't have a reason why?
Yeah, okay. So more so in, I guess, life trajectory is, I would say, try and find a reason that's outside of yourself, because people are very willing this day and age to let themselves down.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, you'll cut corners for yourself. You'll take it easy because no one's really relying upon you. So say in like the fitness realm, if you're really, really focused on your clients and getting the best result for them and helping them make that mindset shift and lose that 5-10 kilos and feel amazing for their wedding day, you'll do a whole lot more for that person than if you're thinking of them as like they're paying X amount per half hour.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So try and make the why outside of yourself, and then it leads back anyway.
Yeah.
The more that you do for other people, the more, I guess, selfless you make the act, the more selfish it is anyway, because you get so much back in return.
I like that. That's good. I think a lot of people would resonate with that. A lot of people resonate with that. I think the age category that we're in, as you said, you were always finding people that were a little bit younger, that you're in your position. I feel like that's happening with me, with my younger siblings and stuff like that. All their mates are within that category now, and they speak to us and they ask us questions like, how did you do this? How did you do that? Why are you running a business? What was the reason behind you starting a business? So I really like that.
Great.
If people wanted to sort of find out where you are on social media and stuff like that, where can they find you?
Yeah, majority of the time, Instagram is the best place to go. So you've got @transformation by TJ.
Yep.
That's my page, my handle. And then, yeah, that's where you'll see you're talking about before, the educational content and speaking to that demographic. And yeah, my big thing is helping people understand that with really simple changes, you can lose that 6 to 10 kilos in 6 to 10 weeks quite comfortably, but it comes back to your habits and your behaviors.
Yeah.
It's not about training really, really hard. It's about getting the right things in place and just building a framework that you know, okay, I can repeat this process over and over again and get a really good result and a different quality of life.
Yeah. And with regards to Transform 40, so I wanted to sort of touch base on Transform 40 a bit. Can you tell us a little bit about what Trans 40 does and what their purpose is, what their drive is for getting people in?
I would say what we do different to most would be we're really, really focused on results. It kind of comes back to my own mentality with everything. It's what's kind of built off is if you help people understand the simplicity of losing body weight, like that's the main thing people are looking to do. This day and age, like we've got these evolutionary brains that haven't really changed since back in the day where we'd eat once a day. So we'd hunt food, we'd gather, we'd eat as much as we could, we'd kind of store it because we know when our next meal was coming along. Where now we could sit in this room and not leave and order Macca's, whatever the hell we wanted, to this door. So getting food is now easier than ever. So most people struggle, saying most, not everyone's, but most people struggle is trying to lose that body fat because we're eating too much, not moving enough. And it's simple as that. It's an energy balance. It's like people are just moving less and eating more and gaining weight. So helping them simplify that with Transform 40 and understand when they come in, we're not going to spin you out with crazy fad diets and all that kind of stuff. We're going to build you a meal plan that works off your wants and needs. So the food you like to eat, the food you enjoy, whatever that is, make sure it's the right amount of calories with the right macros, enough protein to build some muscle, have you moving in a positive direction every single day, whether it be a weight session, a walk with your friends, or a HIIT session, whatever it is. Build that structure where you're actually enjoying the process with a beautiful team of coaches and a nice community we like to rock up to. And then before you know it, after 6 weeks, you've been eating well and you've been going to the gym because you enjoy going to the gym, and then you've lost 6-10 kilos. So the whole thing is just making it way more accessible for people, making it less daunting or confusing. As you know, like with online, there's so much confusing information out there.
So much, eh?
It's because there's too much information as well.
Way too much. And that's on purpose because the more confused you are, the more you have to buy stuff. Okay? So people are just confusing people. So yeah, making it really bloody simple. Where I say to people, like, you can take this and do it yourself. Happy days. My goal is after 12 weeks, you don't need us, but you'll stay because of the community.
Yeah. Community is a big thing.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to group training. Did you always have that confidence to do group training from one-on-one coaching, or was it something you built over time?
It was daunting when I first started, for sure.
Yeah.
Like when I first got into PT, I was running boot camps with a mate. And that was like, it was weird because I'd played footy at the highest level and I'd been in teams my whole life, but then it was something different where I was a bit out of my element. So it was definitely daunting at the start.
Yeah.
But grew into it pretty quick.
Yeah, definitely when I started at 45, I was just this shy little timid guy in the corner. Like, all right, guys, we've got 5 more sets to go. Like, keep going. No energy, no volume, no personality.
It's so different to one-on-one.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. So different.
Like we run a group session once a month, every month, just for our clients. and I threw Brendan in the deep end the other week. And I was just like, all right, you do the session, I'm going to join. And he goes, what? Okay.
That was my first group training session ever as well.
Ever?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah,
Okay.
so I threw him right in the deep end, but it's good. Like every time he comes to the group session now, his personality is so much more bubbly and he's on time and everyone's going for a lap and the energy's there and it's creating this community as you mentioned.
Yeah, because, you know, that's one of my philosophies when I'm coaching or mentoring the trainers that come through our doors. I like to just throw them in the deep end with a lot of things. So he was like, I'm going to do the same thing to you because you do it to the coaches.
Yeah.
And I was like, shit.
No one does it to him. So I was like,
Oh,
there you
good.
go.
Love it.
Yeah, taste for your own medicine. How do you go about, this is a bit of a curveball, but how do you go about hiring and choosing the right people to join your brand? Because obviously it's a big brand and you have internally hired a lot of your clients, but I'm sure you're still picky with the type of clients or the type of people that you introduced into your brand. How'd you go about doing that?
Yeah, great question. I'm actually in the process right now hiring another coach. And
There we go.
the first thing I do is obviously put out ads and kind of say like what we're looking for within that. And you're hoping that pre-qualifies people to a degree, but it doesn't. You get every shape and size. And every kind of different
Doesn't matter
person
how
chucking in.
like in depth your ad
Oh, like
is.
no cert 3, no cert 4, like never done fitness. I'm like, what do you think you're doing here? But nah. So what I do is I get that process through. Then I then send an email real quick and just ask like some basic questions and get an idea of what they're about. And then when they come in for like the interview process, I have them do a couple of classes. So actually just be a participant before we even sit down for an interview. So they'll just try out a strength class, try to hit class, be with the
Oh,
community.
they're a participant.
Yeah, they're just hanging out in the class doing the session.
Yeah.
And then I'll say to my coaches, like, what's your initial read? Because their opinion's huge to me because they'll be working with this person every single day and I trust them like brothers and sisters. So they'll give me their feedback and then I go into an actual interview process where I'm really looking to hire people on personality, way more so than skill set. Like a few of the coaches I've hired over the years had never PT'd in their life. They've had their certs and they had no idea really how to teach a squat. Their own form wasn't great, but they were phenomenal people. And I'm like, cool, I can teach you the hard skills, which is how to teach a squat, bench press, whatever it might be, how to run
That's
a
the
class.
simple stuff.
That's stuff that's easy to learn. But if you don't have good communication skills and you're not a great person with good values, you can't teach that. So I hire for that stuff first and I can always teach the hard skills.
Okay.
Over time, when did you start realizing you had a knack for picking the right coaches? Or was it just something that you created your own little process for then you to be like, okay, this guy sort of fits my criteria? Was it like that at all, or?
It's been a while now, yeah. But I've definitely made my mistakes, don't get me wrong. Like,
Yeah.
I've picked the wrong people at times. So I think just it's been refined over time.
Yeah.
And now to the point where I guess I've met so many people over the years and know so much about people and myself that now I can see through a lot, where initially you get excited and you find yourself wanting to get along with the person. So you have an interview and you're trying to hope that they say the right stuff because you want them to do well.
Yeah.
Where that's what it's like when you're doing like a goal session with a client, but then I had to shift and be like, no, this is a potential coach. I need to like have a bit more of a hard exterior, but I'm like, I'm trying to will them through the session. I'm like, oh, this is an interview. Like I shouldn't be cheering them on. I should be critiquing, but that was a learning for me for sure.
I like that because we had an interview with a podcast episode with his old boss, and he was mentioning that his hiring process is if I wouldn't have a beer with him, I wouldn't hire him.
That's
as
good.
simple as it goes. And I was like, that makes so much sense because if you don't get along with them as a business owner, then how would they ever fit into your community? Because your community is basically people that get along with you in a way.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. For sure.
Yeah. Do you say that with the community that you've built within each of the gyms?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, like everything is kind of a subsect of the coaches. The coaches are so fundamental and so important because let's say you've got 3 to 4 coaches at each facility. Well, then there's like 25% of the clients who are attached to one of those people or 2 of those people, 3 of those people. So yeah, you find that very much like people and it kind of all molds together.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time out of your day to come to do a podcast like this. As I said, as we said before, all your socials are up there, so we'll put them back up in. Oh my god, I'm gonna kill this fly. Far out, it's gonna piss me off the whole podcast. But no, I really do appreciate. I like your mindset towards life and towards growing business, and sort of developing the right skills to move forward with every hurdle that you come across. So I really do appreciate you coming.
Awesome, man.
so
Really
much.
appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Cheers, TJ.
Thanks, mate. Thanks.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Evolve Podcast.
Brendan and I have loved having you throughout this whole podcast. Make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And if friends are interested, share it around.
Yeah, make sure you share and tag us on your Instagram posts, and I'll see you soon.
See you guys. Little boogie to finish.